Very excited to be here. I've had so many exhilarating conversations this morning, and there's a lot going on. There's so much opportunity. I'm super excited to be here. So today, I'm here to talk to you, as he said, about trust and identity as foundational elements of a financial ecosystem. Now, as I was prepping for this session this weekend, shockingly, nobody in my family wanted to listen. My notes and all of that. But after a bit of cajoling, I was able to get my 7-year-old cousin, 7-year-old nephew actually, to sit down and listen to me. So we had a conversation. I had to set a bit of a context for him because obviously he's 7. And we were talking about trust and who we trust. He's obviously grown up in the app ecosystem. He's used an app for everything, to learn numbers, to alphabets. He plays games using different sorts of apps. He is able to buy things on those apps like swords or power plays, although he knows he's not allowed to. But in a future time, he will be using apps to manage his finances, right? There's no doubt about that. Now, as we were talking through this context and we started talking about trust and who we trust, he said something very simple that kind of stuck out to me. He said, when I trust somebody who I know, and somebody who I know will not be mean to me, right? So that's a simple, really simple statement, but it has a profound implication. So how do you prove that who you are is who you say you are, is who you are in this digital world? And how do you know for sure that it's not a fraudster, right? So that's really important. And in this digital world, knowing who you are is really hard to do, right? We're no longer in the situation where you have a user and a server and applications and point-to-point services on site. We're living in a hyper-connected world. There's an explosion of digital experiences, apps, devices, and channels, always on, always connected. People wanting to be online and use services all the time. In this sort of an ecosystem, how do you ensure that the person that you are talking to across that digital divide is indeed the person they claim to be? Do you know that we generate almost 3 quintillion bytes of data every single day with our devices? Now, I had to look up what quintillion was. It's 10 to the power of 18 for anybody that's interested. So that's a staggering amount of data generated every single day. Not all of it is useful, but it is generated every single day. We also know that we expect to see 18 trillion digital transactions coming from 27 billion devices by 2025. Again, staggering amounts of data, payment information, devices, etc. I would argue, though, that digital identity is one of the most valuable assets in this connected world that we see today. It's almost as if once you can establish the identity, then it makes much easier serving the customer at the other end, maybe creating personalized experiences because you know who this customer is. Establishing identity with minimal friction can enable a young couple to apply for and get a loan. It could enable a young mother to start a savings account to start saving for her daughter's future. Now, many people think of Mastercard as a payments company or a technology company, but really, we are in the business of connecting merchants with customers, with financial institutions, and fintechs globally all around the world. When I started in the company about 10 years ago, we were really good at protecting transactions. We soon evolved to protecting interactions because we realized that by the time you're protecting a transaction and the payment is happening, it's almost too late. You need to be able to protect the ecosystem up front when an identity is created, when somebody is creating an account, when somebody is utilizing an account, because it could be an account takeover, for example. So we have evolved and we have continued to build trust into the ecosystem with the assets that we have amassed over the last several years. So a good customer found means that someone was able to access a credit line that they deserve. But a good customer found is also revenue for a financial institution, a fintech, or a neobank. So it's extremely important that we're able to find those good customers and uphold trust in the ecosystem. Going on to the next slide, I want to talk a little bit about the growing, burgeoning fintech ecosystem. So consumer adoption of fintechs is obviously growing at a staggering rate. I don't have to tell this audience that. This morning we had a talk around this market reaching $1 trillion market space, which is massive. According to FICO, 71% of US consumers want to do open banking transactions and want to open bank accounts online. 78% of adults want to bank via mobile apps. Only 29% any longer want to go to a bank in person, right? So we know these trends. We know these trends are happening. Fintechs are driving this change via this digital-first and innovative approach that fintechs have taken to finance. Many are serving niche and underserved segments of the community. At Mastercard, we are extremely passionate about this mission and have invested in open banking to enable fintechs to do exactly what they're really good at. From 2021 to 2026, the number of open banking users is expected to increase 8 times, and instant payment flows enabled by open banking is expected to increase 30 times. As the technology for sharing this data used with explicit consumer permissions grows and gets more sophisticated, consumers will have even more optionality and will be able to do even more creative things with this technology. Consumers can directly benefit from securely sharing more of their data to enhance how they manage their wealth, their retirement accounts, bank, and capital through this burgeoning ecosystem. And helping banks and fintechs innovate, create new technology that uses open banking data to improve underwriting models that ultimately increase financial inclusion in borrowing while minimizing risk for lenders. This part of it we are super excited about. We're passionate about financial inclusion. Anything that will help underserved or underbanked consumers come into the ecosystem through better lending models, or getting access to SMBs that cannot easily get access to loans and credit, but getting them access through different sorts of models that cater to them, we're very excited about at Mastercard. Mastercard has recently started an open banking start path program that many of you may have heard about. We are partnering with fintechs around the globe to expand access to innovative and personalized financial solutions for the underbanked population through open banking data. This aligns closely with Mastercard's mission of driving financial inclusion. In fact, we are partnered with fintechs in 172 countries across the globe. Even in the US, some estimates say that 25% of Americans are underserved or underbanked. And more than 21 million Americans don't have access to the traditional ID systems that are required to get access to finance in a traditional manner. So for all these reasons, we are super excited about open banking and powering fintechs to do what they do best. But underlying all of that, of course, is identity and trust. If we are able to uphold this in the ecosystem, collectively working together as an industry, we will have a lot more take-up from consumers, because we know that 96% of consumers have told us that access to accounts and access to their accounts and their data is the top concern for them when they think about open banking interactions. So very critical that we solve this problem. Now, the big question, are we doing a great job of protecting consumers and protecting data and protecting our ecosystem from fraud? Before we answer that question, let's look at some of the data. So as you can see here, every other week, there seems to be some sort of breach or some sort of fraud or some attack that is reported in the news, right? You see it all the time. The CNBC article that talks about consumers that lost $56 billion to identity fraud last year. So if you read that article, it'll tell you that there's really two ways in which that people are losing money. One is that fraudsters are stealing public PII information of consumers, and they're using that to attack the ecosystem. So they have stolen, maybe usernames, passwords, maybe they've stolen email addresses, et cetera, and they're using that to perpetrate fraud. The other way is that they are scamming consumers into legitimately sending them money. So authorized push payment fraud, right? So that's also huge in the ecosystem. Again, this takes some education for consumers, but it also requires us to be vigilant, right? So when we see that a money transfer is happening and it's coming from an account that we've never seen that behavior from, we need to use AI and machine learning to understand that, flag it so that we know that that's happening, and we can flag the consumer that, hey, do you really want to do this? Are you sure you really want to do this, right? So in the UK, they have now said that a financial institution or fintech is responsible for the fact if somebody gets scammed, the financial institution underlying that is potentially responsible for that. So we don't know what we're doing in the US yet, but we are watching very closely what's happening in the UK. The other one, nearly half of businesses are being hit by economic crime, with cybercrime the gravest threat. So World Economic Forum has said that over the last 2 years, half of the businesses have been hit by some sort of cybercrime. That's huge, right? So not only are consumers or customers being impacted, small businesses and other businesses are being impacted as well. So from there, the fraudsters want to get information, as much information as they can. They're getting breached data from there as well, potentially customers of that business, potentially credentials, maybe card credentials or other credentials that the business has about that consumer, right? So with all of this going on in the ecosystem, you might ask the question, well, why is all this happening? I think part of the reason is there is a ton of breached data out there available, easily accessible to everybody, right? So you don't even really need to go to the dark web much anymore, right? So it's available in the real public web as well, right? So over the last 3 years, there's been about 5,000 breaches. All of this breached data is out there available for the fraudster to use. Fraudsters are hitting the ecosystem. Either they are masquerading as an actual business. They might be masquerading, they have taken over merchant accounts and perpetrating attacks through that. They have fraudulent credentials. There's credentials available for sale very, very easily and cheaply on the dark web and other places. There are services that are there to help fraudsters. So there are services out there that help you create a fraudulent business in minutes. Like, I've seen that. It's there, widely available, easily accessible to anybody. So you don't have to be that smart or that sophisticated or that, be an AI guru or any of those things in order to be able to get access to this data and access to these services. You just need a little bit of time and willingness to do it. So with all of this information and data out there, oh, did I lose my slide? There you go. So if you this is a working QR code. If you actually try to look at this website, you'll see that this website creates actual fake accounts. So if you read it, the author will tell you that the fake account is being created for gaming purposes and for you to masquerade as somebody else on social media, et cetera, et cetera. However, you'll see that the line between what the use is and how it could be used for fraudulent purposes is very fine, right? So the amount of detail that it goes into in terms of eye color and hair color, it's very rich information about an identity. Plus, you have the ability on that to apply for an actual credit card number, which is a tested, verified credential as well, right? So These sorts of sites are available, and this is not the dark web, right? So these sorts of sites are available. Now, the reason why this is kind of put out there as a bit of a gaming, kind of a fun, fake website, but the thing is, actual genuine websites like this exist as well. There's another website which is interesting. It's called haveibeenpawned.com, which some of you may have heard of. If you go to that website and you type in your email address or phone number, for example, it will tell you in how many breaches was this email address or phone number found. So I typed in a couple of my email addresses, and I found that my email address has been breached in over 7 breaches in the last several years, right? So my information is out there. I know that. And fraudsters know that, and they're taking advantage, right? So let me talk a little bit about what we're doing at Mastercard to help. So let's take it back to a bit of a case study. So let's meet Nicole. She's a valuable customer for a fintech. They just don't know her yet. Nicole's new job results in an international relocation to New York, where she has no financial history. With limited banking and credit history to refer to, Nicole is one of the millions of consumers who often become a blind spot to traditional credit-driven identity verification practices. So I'm pleased to announce that Mastercard is launching an enhanced open banking for account opening solution to help fintechs and financial institutions onboard more genuine customers like Nicole. Our solution verifies consumers' existing accounts and their identity in real time in one single API. This single API verifies that Nicole is who she says she is and links to her existing accounts, allowing her to move funds securely and seamlessly. For fintechs, it means a single, simple solution to verify an individual and their account data. So it's no longer enough to verify. Obviously, everyone needs to do KYC and AML. We know that, right? We need to do KYC and AML. But a lot of the times, this is done with static PII data, like date of birth, social security number. For the most part, most of this is already breached. We all know that, right? So it's not just, it's important to also look at what we call dynamic PII within Mastercard. So looking at a collective set of PII that will help you triangulate whether this Nicole is who she says she is, not just based on traditional data, but based on other alternative sources of data that can help triangulate Nicole to who she is. In the case of Nicole, since she's new to country, she might not have a lot of those traditional sources anyway, but even if she did, this other elements and looking at other data elements to see whether this all triangulates to one person, could it be a synthetic ID, could it be a stolen ID, that's what this allows you to do. And now with the combination of the open banking API and the signal from the identity network, we're able to give you one consolidated response that will not only give you access, ability to know whether this account is owned by Nicole, but also that Nicole is a trusted individual with an identity that checks out and seems good. Our enhanced open banking for account opening solution also verifies identity and account ownership for transactions like disbursements, account-to-account-based payments, and peer-to-peer payments. This allows the consumer to quickly and safely open a new bank account, link an existing account to an investment account for regular automatic payments, or even set up accounts for bill payments. By minimizing the risk of fraud in real time, this solution enables fintech providers to accelerate their growth by signing up customers faster and more securely. Through this solution and key partnerships with fintech providers such as MoneyLion, we're excited about the possibilities that this unlocks for the financial inclusion and for consumers. For this fintech, a good consumer is found and a new customer is acquired. For Nicole, it means access to financial services as she starts her new life in New York. This is just one example of many consumers and financial institutions who benefit from trusted digital identity and open banking solutions. Digital identity and open banking, especially when working in concert, can create a more inclusive and transparent society, enabling trust on both sides of an interaction. It can help businesses reach more consumers, increasing access to financial services, and enabling organizations to grow and thrive. In closing, at Mastercard, we believe that digital identity and open banking are a key accelerator of a trusted digital economy. With this, I'd like to roll a 2-minute video that I think brings all of this together really nicely.
In today's fast-moving digital economy, you as innovators of financial services have never faced greater opportunities or perils. What's more, it can be hard to know which requires more focus. Consumers expect fast and frictionless digital experiences, which can expose you to increasingly sophisticated fraud. But without these digital experiences, you can lose customers. Enter Mastercard Open Banking, featuring account verification paired with identity insights, an innovation that packages 2 cutting-edge services into one API. Now, with a single solution, we cross-check globally sourced data with consumer permission account information, using advanced machine learning to provide real-time risk scores for verification. Ultimately, by pairing real-time open banking data with a robust identity network, Mastercard is empowering safe and frictionless customer experiences. Because with a trusted innovation platform, Mastercard can help you focus on your vision for growth.
Great. Thank you very much. And if anybody has any questions, I'll be out there the rest of the day, so feel free to just ping me and we can talk. Thank you.